we look at building our own. Like I preach this all the time. I'm about
Yeah.
creating my own systems. And, I don't think that we should ever have to, be programmed to, do what somebody else wants us to do. We're all put on this world individually. We were all born into this world and we can accomplish whatever we want to accomplish, and just, going a little background, my dad, he never had a job. And this goes down to like what I was taught, way back when, because I'm a baby boomer. I see things a lot different than the newer generation, but my dad, he was always that person, who was involved in, the Black Panther type movements. And, he would always say, you know, we should never let anyone tell us what to do and how to do it. And, he never had a job. He never had a job, not in high school, not after high school, and everything. No, I'm serious. And he made his living. Okay. And this goes to my point, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
He made his living by hustling. But the funny thing about that is he was hustling in an entrepreneurial type way.
Exactly.
Because he was a jeweler by trade. And, that's one of the things that, I said to myself was like, no wonder I like jewelry so much, not expensive jewelry, but just the concept of jewelry, in general. But my dad, he was like, where there's a will, there's a way, and I'm not going to let anybody regulate me. And I think a lot of that spilled over onto me. Yes, I'm not going to sit here and say I never had a day job. I did. I was programmed like everybody else. I was one of those individuals that believe what they told me. I heard some things in my household, and then I go to school and I hear different things. Get a good education, get a job, do something productive in society, right?
Yeah, all the key phrases.
Yeah, all the key phrases. And I was like kind of duped when I got older, because I was like, I did all of that. And what was the impact? What was the outcome? Oh, okay, let's see. Living paycheck to paycheck, have to take orders from somebody that I necessarily don't like, having to wake up and do stuff that I don't like because I got to pay my bills and keep my lights on. And then the whole time I was telling myself, Tony, like, why didn't I listen to my dad? Why didn't I listen to, my aunts, because my great aunt was, on the lower half of that whole Black Wall Street thing. And again, she lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She lived in Greenwood, and I was just a young buck, man. When, we went to visit her, she was in a wheelchair, and, to kind of give whoever's listening some background, she had a really bad accident and she got a lot of money from it. So she was all a part of that, that Greenwood experience of living in Black wealth.
Yeah.
But when I went to visit her, one of the things that she was, telling me and my sisters was like to look around and look at what we see. And what did we see? Back then, all I saw was a bunch of Black people in the neighborhood. Same thing I saw when I was in South Central, right? So it didn't make no sense to me at that time that, building systems are very important. And I preach this a lot to a lot of the younger people that I deal with. You and I talk about it a lot. Yeah. And I tell my kids about it too. And, one of the things that, she would say to us is that she was like, we're never dependent on anyone in Greenwood. And they weren't. They weren't dependent on anybody. if they worked outside of Greenwood and they lost their job, if they had one, they still wasn't dependent on their job because they were self-sustainable in their community, you know? And to fast forward, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I do what I do. But to fast forward, you have to think about it. And then when you do, go to any city in America, okay? It doesn't matter what state in America, but just go into the city and there's a Chinatown, there's a Little Italy, you know what I'm saying? There's a Jewish town. I mean, all of those things exist. And you go into those areas and they have their own shops, their own restaurants, their own cleaners, their own banks. But then you come into our neighborhoods, we don't have it. Okay. And I'm not saying that we can't get it. I just think that we were programmed to believe that if we wanted to do something like that, we have to be regulated by the powers to be. And we don't have to be regulated by the powers to be. If you think about what happened in Greenwood, they weren't regulated by the powers to be. You know what I'm saying? So we need to go back to that. We need to start looking at, you know, where we're going in the future, where our children are going in the future, and then start putting things in place that they can control, that they can own. You know, I tell people all the time, it's one thing owning something, right? You could own a number of things, but until you get to the point where you control it, it means nothing. Exactly. You know, it means nothing. People say, oh, well, you got a business, you know, blah, 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 and you're owner and this and this. And I'm saying, no, but I ain't controlling my business. You know what I'm saying? Back then, I knew that. And I was like, I'm working out of somebody else's building. Okay. 1, 2, you know, I have to bow down to whatever they say. You know what I'm saying? Not if they come to me and say, we need you to move out, we're selling the building, then I got to go find somewhere else. But to be sustainable to a point where I don't have to ask anybody for anything means that I control my environment. I control my business. Yeah. You have a business, you put it on the internet, you don't control that. You control how to edit the website, but you don't control the internet. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. We don't control the system. We just been housed there, and we can get kicked out or shut down or closed down whenever whoever wants us to be, and we have nothing to do about it.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to start this show, Powerful Conversations. I know we've been talking about it for about a year. But we have powerful conversations every time we sit down. So it's basically it's not that we haven't been having these conversations, but it's time for us to bring it to the public. So, you know, like everything you said, those are power moves. And it was just part of like who we were. So now when we talk about it, it sounds so foreign because we're so removed from the Greenwood. And, you know, we're so far removed from that energy of how people just woke up and understood that this is what we got to do. And of course, a lot of the things were done systematically, and the system realized because of the 60s and everything that we got to break them up from all this unity stuff. And that's when we started doing the incentives on giving certain people higher paying jobs and letting some people get through and letting a few people get rich. And they realized that if we keep them all at the bottom, they're going to team up and really build. But if we start letting them make it and then tell the rest of them, if you do good, you'll make it. And, you know, then they built a system that made us start being more individualized. And, well, I'm only worried about mine and my family, which is cool. Everybody supposed to take care of their family and theirs first. But at the same time, your family is still in the community. Your kids still got to go to school with the other kids that's not doing something. You still got to wake up every day and go to your car and go to the store. So even if you say I'm gonna take care of my family and forget the community, so it still can fall back on you just because your community is falling apart. You know. On this show we're gonna cover so many ways of of power. But my main thing is what I see today is start. Well, we both know it starts off with the mindset, right? It's not
Yep.
that we got. Of course, we need the funds and we need a lot of other things that we always talking about. But even if you get the funds and without the mindset, you will lose. You will lose all that. It's no power
Mhm.
with just having money with the wrong mindset.
That's correct.
It's a lot of rich, powerless people.
Yeah.
I'm talking about it's some black people that got a bunch of money and I probably got more power than some of them. You know, just because of the
Mhm.
way they operate in their mindset. You know,
Yeah.
so tonight I want like you just broke it down on what you did. And first of all, I mean, you know, we talking like we just talking. We are in public. Welcome to Wealth Is Gangsta,
Right.
the first episode of Powerful Conversations.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is my mentor, my counselor, the big homie, Kemo. Let people know just a little bit about you, your background. So as we keep throwing out these episodes, they kind of know who they talking to. They don't just see who is school right there that's
Yeah.
fly with
Right.
the K with
Right.
the K7J on. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
just know about your background, your past, and how we here now. How are you here now?
I come from humble backgrounds, but I didn't grow up with any type of money or, you know, prestige or anything like that. My parents and my grandparents and their parents basically they weren't slaves, but they worked on plantations and they cooked and cleaned and did laundry, and they were sharecroppers for other people. And when I was born, I was born in South Central Los Angeles, and I didn't know anything about that, but one of the biggest things that I can tell you, especially about my background, is I saw a lot of unity in my neighborhood. Yes, predominantly Black. I think we had one Hispanic dude, and that Hispanic dude still lives there to this day. His name is Bobby Hernandez, and he still live there on the corner. You know, but there was a lot of unity in my neighborhood. Yeah, we had crime. Yeah, we had all those things. But to let people know how I was influenced, I was always influenced to, do the right things. Okay. And what are the right things? Okay. Like I told you, my dad came up a little bit different, right? And this goes to my entrepreneurial mindset, but it also goes to my mindset, the way that I've been thinking ever since, I got in high school and then got out of high school and started to go into the workforce and started to build, my own companies or whatever you want to call it. But, one of the things that, I'm just going to go back a little bit when I was in elementary, right? And I got in trouble because I would not put my hand over my heart and say the Pledge of Allegiance. No, I'm just telling you. And the teacher didn't notice me not doing it and not saying it and singing it, but she was like, he's not doing that. So she approached me and she says, well, why don't you know, do like everybody else and put your hand over your heart and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And, I just basically told her, that, well, because the Pledge of Allegiance is a lie. And that's what my dad told me. And I'm not doing it. And so, that came a whole bunch of mess came with that, calling up, my mom and they haven't come to school, the principal, and all of that. Right. So, I didn't feel some kind of way about that. I still continued to do it. And they got to the point where they just stopped. They didn't bother me no more because they said, he ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
But to fast forward where I came from, you know, it was a lot of gang violence and, all those type of things going on in my neighborhood. And that's where I learned from. I learned from the streets. I didn't learn, I wasn't put in a private school or anything like that. I basically learned by what was going on in my environment. And if you look at Boys in the Hood, that's a good depiction of what I was living with in South Central.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can tell that story because it's almost identical, to how we were raised. But to get where I am now, that took a change of mindset. And that mindset came from, my mentor, Nick Stewart. And I know a lot of people don't know about him, but I'm going to let you know about him because for all of the time that I've been, here on this planet, I've been honoring that man. There are some people who knew who he was, and there's a lot of people who don't know who he was, but he was a Black actor. He played in the Amos and Andy series. His name was Lightning. And he opened this theater. And this is where it all started for me, Tony. I mean, literally, because prior to me going to the Ebony Showcase Theater, I was in them streets. And I ain't gonna lie, man. I was doing things that, I don't want if any young people are listening to this, I'm not even gonna say what I was doing, but I don't want them doing it.
Yeah.
And I came out, very, very blessed and lucky that I wasn't in a coffin or, locked up in prison like most of the people that I grew up with. My high school reunion had all of 25 people out of 400 because majority of them dead, locked up.
Yeah.
But when I went to the theater, I saw a different side of things. This man talk about systems that has influenced everything that I do, because that man used his own money. He didn't ask no bank for no loans. He didn't do none of that. Used his own money. He bought the property, fenced it off. Okay. Then went around to a bunch of, construction sites and asked them for their scraps. You know what I'm saying? Wood that they weren't using or, whatever, stone, whatever. And then he took it and he put it on the land until he got everything he needed. And then he went back to the same sites and he hired Black, construction workers. And he started building the theater. And on that whole block was a theater. There was a barber shop, a rehearsal hall, a retail store. I mean, I never seen anything like that, let alone a Black man owns it. You know what I'm saying? A whole block, not just a corner, the whole block. And I was like, in my neighborhood, who did I see running the liquor stores? Asians. You know what I'm saying? Even though we were in good with them, they were all around us. They owned the properties. They were running and controlling things. And so Nick showed me another side. And all of that preaching, he was telling me the whole time, he was like, you can do whatever you want to do. You just need to learn how to build these things without asking anybody for anything. And that's basically what I've done all my life. Yeah. I've never taken a business loan. I've never asked anybody to, loan me some money to start a business. You know what I'm saying? Bootstrap is an understatement because I felt like if I wanted to do something and build something, I needed to use the resources around me because that's what my grandparents did. Mm-hmm. In South Central, in that little bitty house that we lived in, there was all types of plants, because they grew up on farms everywhere, and I watched the people in the community come over and say, hey, can we get some collard greens or can we get some mustard greens or whatever? And they would give, my grandmother money, or she would make peach cobbler. And the neighborhood would come over, and that's how she made her income because she was on a fixed income. She was retired. Yeah. But for me, I think that was just the start of my defiance in the workplace. And true story, man. some of this you heard, but some of it you haven't heard. In my experience of, going into the military, right? And people who are in the military will understand this when I tell them. I was a 4.0 evaluated honorable service member, but I never got an achievement medal the whole time I was in. There are other people in the military who got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stars.
Yeah.
Not me. And I'm gonna tell you why I didn't get it. And this may seem harsh, but I didn't get it because I wasn't kissing nobody's ass, and that was the bottom line. Yeah, I knew why I was there, but I wasn't there for the reasons that they thought I was there.
Yeah.
But I wasn't gonna kiss I don't care what rank you was. I wasn't kissing no ass. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't gonna let anybody treat me any old kind of way. And I don't say that I'm better than anybody because I'm not, but I see things different. And that's basically my story, because I didn't create any of my success by myself. I didn't. You were responsible for some of my success. Some of the people around me, my children, some of my old friends, they're responsible for that. But I was able to humble myself enough to say that, if there are people around me that can help me do something, then I need to find a way to be able to help them. Okay. And that's how I build my life. That's how I build my business. And that's how I'm building my legacy, and that's what my definition, because I see it up here on the screen, is what is power? I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody's got a great idea of who I am. I'm not an arrogant person. I'm actually a really friendly guy if you meet me in person. But at the same time, I'm all about power, especially when it comes to our culture. Sometimes I have a hard time, Tony, not understanding why my own people won't, talk to me, or they see what I do, and in their minds they think it's a scam, or in their minds they don't want to approach me, or in their minds they want me to approach them, and it ain't gonna never happen. But at the same time, I have this video of Nick Stewart, and the truth is the truth. And when he sent me that video, okay, particularly at the end of that video, and I still have it, he said, the people who are trying to destroy me the most is my own people.
Yeah.
And you know what? I absolutely 1000% understand that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's part of the game. And it's something that you kind of know, but when you're in the mix of building, you really see it. Like you always hear it, and you kind of know that it's like that when you're growing up. You kind of be like, man, why are we hating on each other over this, or why are you doing? So we see it in our everyday life, but when you try to do business and you're trying to build a community and you see it, it throws you off a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it does.
I'm trying to help us. I'm trying to help you. You know what I'm saying? And those people will try to get over. And that's why I realized that, like, even me, right, getting into power conversation, that's why I don't even let low-level conversations even come to me. When I see the stuff on the Facebooks and all that, I'm like, this is our problem. We too emotional, we too in our feelings, and the people that really got power are gonna run over us because they don't play like that. They serious people about taking care of business. They don't care about this dude or that dude or this woman or that woman. They don't care about all that. They care about the bread and butter of how we gonna make this thing happen. You feel me?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to get us to understand. Like, to me, power is, I take it from, I got the book somewhere around here, but I'm gonna reference Dr. Claude Anderson when he says that the ability to do what you want despite opposition. See, our thing is, we feel like
Powernomics.
Powernomics.
I got that book somewhere around here.
We feel like power is somebody giving us a position, somebody giving us a promotion. So we feel powerful now. Somebody gave us something, but they can take that from you. Like, so for me, like, I'm not in a the most powerful position that I'm going to be in, but mindset wise, I'm super powerful, right? Because I'm the type of person that, you know, the House of Resources. I went to the bank. They said no. I went to the owner and got it anyway. That's a power move. That, you're not going to tell me what I can and can't do.
And I do, right? You can do it.
You know this too. I spent well over 6 figures of my own money and went into the red trying to do that, right? And even though that didn't work out, what am I doing now? We rebooting and we regrouping and we about to come back even better and harder. That's power. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to sit back and wait for somebody to help out. We figure out things and we live, we learn, and we restructure and we tighten up. Now when I come back, it's going to be less foolishness. It's going to be more, you know, a lot of the stuff I went through.
I was there.
But that's what I'm saying. That's part of the power. That's part of really learning how this game plays.
I agree. I don't look down. You know, I know. I'm not going to say that I'm reading people in this community's mind, or for that matter, even my own family members or people that I know that I'm close to. But I'm going to say that I don't look down on anyone. You know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, that power is in our connection. That's what I've always learned. Starts with one person. Kemo talks to Tony. Tony talks to somebody else. They get together, they put their minds together, they build the right mindset, and then things happen. Okay. And we both know, you and I both, I didn't spend tons of money. I don't even want to talk about that. and didn't get it back, you know. But I didn't stop and I didn't go, oh, let me look down on somebody because, you know, I'm very approachable. I don't care if you only got 2 nickels in your pocket. If you come in and you talk to me, I'm gonna be like, okay, you got 2 nickels. Let's turn it into 5 nickels or 4 nickels or 20 nickels or whatever we got to do. That's the mindset that I've been working on all of my life. You know, and I don't think there's not anything we can't do. I think we put value on the wrong things.
Yeah, we do. She's asking what kind of power? Power in general. Yeah, you put business power, you put power of success. Power is just in how we move as one, how we operate, how we deal with each other. Just power, just as a total. It's not just one sector of power. Power is just power. How you wake up every day, how you go to sleep, how you conduct yourself, how you take care of your business. It's all it's a way you move, talk, and just in your aura. It's an aura that comes with you, right?
And it's having the ability, and Nick Stewart taught me this. It's having the ability to be like, and I'll just use you as an example, Tony. You coming to me and there's something you want to do, but you may not have the finances, you may not have the knowledge, you may not have the resources, and I do. But I don't hold those resources from you. I give them to you voluntarily. That's power. Okay. Because when you can empower somebody else to start on a journey that they probably thought they never could start on because they didn't have the money or nobody believed in them, that's power. That's what that man told me. He was like, nobody can get in your way if you don't want them to. Yeah. They'll get in your way if you let them. Yeah. But if you don't let them, they ain't gonna get in your way. Yeah. He said, nobody stopped me from building this whole block. I built the block. Okay. Now, what they don't know, and you can Google it and look this information up for yourself, was the United States federal government and the city of Los Angeles took his property from him by what they call eminent domain. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know what that is. But if you don't know what it is, you better get on Google and you better start reading about it, because they could snatch your house and your property right out from under you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. Yeah. You know,
that's what they was battling with Nipsey over on his property over there. Like real estate. They were trying to get that real estate back. He had prime real estate, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I made sure, you know, like Nick told me, he didn't just tell me. I want everybody to know that, like, he wasn't just mentoring me. He mentored me a lot because I was a badass. But at the same time, you know, he was talking to all of us, and there are a bunch of people that was there. But one of the things that he was saying to us is, you know, true ownership comes from you having the ability to not allow anyone to take something from you.
Yeah.
And that's true ownership. If somebody can, if the city can take something from you, it's not true ownership. You know what I'm saying? If a company that you have your website on decides they want to shut it down or cut you off, it's not true ownership. That goes back to the systems that I've been talking to everybody about for almost all of my adult life. Is we have to build those things that aren't controlled by someone else. And that's just the bottom line.
Yeah, and it needs to be just part of like regular conversation. Like, you know, our conversations are regular, but the conversation we have, 95% of our community never have. You know what I'm saying? So that's you know, that was another reason why I want to make this, you know, some of our conversations public, because these need to be regular conversations in the public, in the general aspect of power. And it's not like you say, and it's definitely never thinking you better than nobody, but it is levels and separation, and that's just a fact. You know what I'm saying? So I was talking to a guy yesterday. I'm like, just because we try to lead like that, because you're better leaders when you don't look like arrogant or nothing, right?
Right.
But it is a piece of arrogance that you need to know that, like, now I really put in this work, I really do this, so quit comparing yourself to me because you don't do what I do. So it's not an arrogant thing, but it's a true factor. And in other cultures, people knew that. People would be like, oh no, such and such really put in work, I salute him. In our culture, it'll be a person that never did nothing trying to tell a person that did it all and spent his own money that they know better than you. I do this. Have you ever spent 6 figures on some kids that ain't yours?
Right. Exactly.
So, like, it is degrees of separation, and we must make that clear, even though we're not trying to seem like we're bigger or better than nobody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
It has to be clear. Like, when I sit down with you, it's respect, because I know you done seen and achieved things that I haven't done, right? So it's a respect level there.
And vice versa.
You see what I'm saying? And, and that's what I'm saying. The community needs to just have that energy regardless, and know that them guys really do that, or this guy does that, or, you know, just paying the homage and respect and the support, because like everybody can't build a system, but why they not behind you as you build a system, or why they not behind me or us as we build a system? And I was talking about that, like when I had the school, I'm like, everybody's not going to want to wake up and deal with, like you always tell me, I can't do that I can't deal with the young kids out there. Right? So everybody got their talents and what they really can bring to the table. But if you can't do what I can do every day with the kids, why is not the person in the community like, you know what, I ain't gonna mess with them kids all day, but I donate. I'm not gonna, I can't mess with them kids and I can't donate, but I can show up and give you, I can do some volunteer time. Like, everybody got something that they can bring to the table, and that's power too. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now we working in conjunction together to build something bigger, you know. And
I had a conversation today, as a matter of fact, with, you know, some people of our culture, and, you know, they're business people, and, you know, they do well, you know, but this conversation was exactly about what we're talking about and what we always talk about when we do our off-camera thing, right? So, you know, I was explaining to them, I said, you know, people say things when they go to, like, my website or whatever, and they see, you know, more of my culture, you know, on my website. And I made the statement that, and because why should I have to conform and make something multicultural when you can pick and choose any website out there, click on that website, and all you see is their culture? Why is it different for us? Why do I have to go, well, I better put some. Let me tell you what the conversation revealed. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. The conversation revealed that, well, if we as, Black people don't put a mixture up there, then we will probably lose the other cultures' money or revenue. Mm-hmm. And if we put us there, then our own people will think that it's not worthy of them to support. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you what I said, because I'm just going to keep it real.
Yeah.
And you know what I said? That doesn't stop anyone from achieving a level of success in business, because this is a big ass world and it only takes one person to change the dynamic. It doesn't matter what color they are. You know what I'm saying? I should not have to be, if we go back to true power, if we go back to true ownership, if we go back to that thing that we were talking about, right? Control. If I'm controlling my environment, nothing stops me from making that revenue. You understand?
Yeah.
It's what we put in our minds that makes us start to conform. You know what I'm saying? Oh, because everybody else did it this way, I'm gonna do it that way. Me, I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
Everybody else did it that way. I ain't doing it that way. I'm gonna do it the way I want to do it. Mm-hmm. And ain't nobody gonna tell me that I can't. I don't care what perimeters they put on it. You got to remember this. If the same entities are out there controlling things and nobody's regulating them, why is it a double standard when it comes to us? But you know what the block is? This is what the block is. The block is a lot of lack of ambition in us and a big, big disconnection in our unity and our power. You cannot sit here and say that we as a culture don't have money. Statistically, if you Google how much Black people spend every single year, it's over $1 billion, $1.3 trillion. Yeah. How do you have $1 trillion worth of spending habit, but don't own and don't control nothing?
Well, you know what it goes back to? It goes back to our last sit down when I was telling you about the private equity company that we're going to be starting, right? And I was telling Coach Herrera that this today about we're not used to that big that high level when it comes to like finances, when it comes to this real, so when we talk about like, okay, if I go get a house and flip it, I feel like I done did something, because most of us don't never do that, right? But in the bigger scheme of things, I ain't did nothing.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
You flipped the house and made some money.
Yeah. So even when we think we're doing something, we're doing it at the lowest level. So it's no power in that. It's just a money exchange. It's just another form of a self-employed person. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's why I say, like, private equity, they come in groups and they buy stuff in swoops and they 10x and they X their money. They did, and it's just the way they operate. And I'm like, okay, that's what we got to do. Everything that we do, I told you this in the last meeting, everything we need to do, we need to look at it from the eyes of private equity, from the eyes of raising funds, and stop thinking about this little, we're going to do this one thing, we're going to get this store open, we're going to get, no, we need to be buying up some stuff, flipping some of it, cash flowing, and some of it. We got to do this at a faster, rapid pace. And everybody's not going to be able to do what we talk about doing, but you need to do that in your household in some form. And that's why we're putting together the Fast Food to Wealth, because we had this conversation some months back about what we talk about and what we do, most of our people are not going to be able to do, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But you still can't do your form of it. So if you at McDonald's or if you at a factory job, you might not be thinking on this high level, but you can raise your level in that field. You know what I'm saying? You can change how you saving money, investing money, how you spending money. You can make sure that you know what. Well, every monthly, I'm gonna be donating to this organization or these guys, or you know what? Oh, these guys got some things going on. Can I figure out how to save some money? Maybe I invest into them. So even on the lowest level, you can start thinking higher. But that's what we did. That's why I want to do this show, because we have to encourage, talk, and I told you I'm gonna start traveling. I'm gonna start doing some things on a bigger level, because we can't just talk about it. We got to show it. Same thing with these kids in the streets, right? When I tell these kids stay out the streets and do good, that ain't gonna do nothing, because it didn't do nothing for me. What I got to be able to tell them is, hey, come over here. Let me show you how to get this money in the stocks. Let me show you how to turn this little $50 into this by doing real estate. You can't just talk about it. You got to show and really put them in that situation where they be like, oh, this is real. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with that. You know, that's the way I was taught. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Didn't nobody, okay, if we go back to my past and where I grew up at, I was taught how to make a lot of money selling drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Past.
Yeah, that's my story too. I always talk about it. Yeah. That's why I started seeing on Youth League, because I'm like, what if somebody would have showed me about this other stuff? So,
right, exactly. and that's, and we talk about that all the time. And I'm like, that is my whole purpose and quest in life is, I don't care if they're young, I don't care if they're old, we should always be approachable with each other. And we should always be like, you know what? Well, I know this man knows X, Y, and Z. So let me go over and talk to him, and find out what he does when he invests his money, or what does he know about investing? That's where it starts. It doesn't start with us hiding behind a screen, looking at social media and going, ooh, yeah, I got to get the bag. Half of that stuff on social media, you know how I feel about social media, but you don't know if it's true or if it's not. The only way you find out if something is true is you bring yourself in front of those people. And then you'll find out if it's true.
It's real. Yeah.
What's real.
Yeah,
exactly.
I shared a post today, guys, talking about all these people that's on social media acting like they really do this in the community. But I'm like, man, I'm out here. I don't see 80% of these people in the community, but they post all day. Like you would swear that they doing something for real. But when you see them in real life, it's like it's not adding up. You know what I'm saying? And that's
right.
That's the problem. Social media is good for a lot of things, but it's bad for a lot of things, right? So I always compare it to like, okay, in like early 2000s, when I wanted to go to New York. Right now, these kids can go to New York. They can be at home and somebody in New York can be watching them, right? Just a regular person. You ain't got to be rich or nothing. When I was coming out the trunk with music and stuff, we got on a Greyhound and went to New York, because that's the only way they're gonna see us. They're not gonna see nobody in Temple or Bartlett, Texas. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Putting out no music. You know what I'm saying? So, but what they do is build character. That builds a certain grind. That builds a certain respect, because now it's so much disrespect on social media. Why? Because everybody hiding behind a computer. When I was going state to state back then, I'm that way anyway. But I moved with respect, because I'm out there by myself, city to city, state to state. So whatever I say, I got to be able to stand on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like now, these kids can say something and hide behind social media and don't. So it's a whole culture that got just drained out, and it got weakened. And now we got a lot of pretenders. And that's so that's what I was trying to say when you said, well, we never coming like we better than nobody, but it has to be some separation.
There's always a degree of separation. Don't get me wrong when I say I don't think I'm better than nobody.
Yeah, I know what you meant though. Yeah.
I'm the type of person that's like, okay, you know what? I'll give you another example. Because I live in Harker Heights or Colleen or whatever you want to call it, it's all the same to me. People think that because I'm here, I'm on the same level as them. Okay. And that's just the truth. And I'm not. there's a big degree of separation between me and some people, in the community.
A lot of people, but I'll say that.
Right. But the problem is what we've fallen into, or what they have fallen into, is, well, there's nothing here, blah, 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 this. And it is true, there's nothing here. But that doesn't mean you can't build something that gives you that degree of separation. You know what I'm saying? We have to learn that part. And that's the hard part. I tell people all the time, Tony, because, these conversations hit hard with me.
Yeah.
And, every time I tell them the truth and I say, you get up every day. Those are those people who are in the workforce, right? Or have been in the workforce. And you rush to that job because that job pays your bills. But the truth of the matter is this: you rush to that job to give them 8 to 12 hours and you leave with nothing. And yeah, I hear people say all the time, oh, well, I get paid every 2 weeks. I'm not leaving with that. No, you go into work on a Monday and you ain't got no food in your refrigerator, and you go into that job and you work 8 hours, ask your boss to pay you on the spot so you can buy some groceries to feed your kids. And I bet you'll get an answer you don't like.
Yeah, no, the system ain't built for that. The system,
exactly.
And that's part of how you get indebted and all that, because they know you're trying to survive from paycheck to paycheck. So when you broke, what you got to do, you got to go get credit cards, you got to go get this loan, you got to go get different things, and that's help. That's help beating the system. That's help beating the system. So that is so true, and that's what, like, even with this power talk, right? And this is the hard truth that a lot of us, don't want to come to this conclusion, but
right,
a lot of our community, we just got to write off, and that's just the reality of it. It's not even, it's just the truth. You know what I'm saying? Because
I get it.
You can't force and make nobody do nothing. They have to, like, even when I'm, how I'm regrouping the CEO Youth League now, it's gonna be higher standards. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we coming up with ways where maybe you can work it off a different. So we're gonna try to work with people much as we can, but each child that's a part of what we're doing has to bring value back to us. I did enough value one way. I did enough value just one way. Now we got to be a two. Now every time I put out value, I got to get it back. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the only way to make something sustainable. Because when it falls apart, you're gonna be by yourself anyway.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be with a few people that's skin in the game, that's really pouring back into us like we pouring into them, than a bunch of people that's just draining us. Just trying to save everybody. They don't care. It's people you put people on the boat that's actually drilling a hole in the boat, wanting to sink.
Exactly. And that's what I feel about, a lot of times, most of us spending 4 years of our life in college. 4 years. And this might seem like an oxymoron, or it just doesn't make sense, because I see it different.
Yeah.
You're willing to give 4 years of your life up to get a piece of paper. Okay. We have all done it. All right. And I'm not judging. All right.
Yeah.
This is my reality and my rationale.
Yeah.
But yet, if approached and somebody says, give up 6 months of your life to learn how to invest or build this, you look at it strange, but you don't look at the other system like that. You look at the other system as, oh, I'm going to go there and they're going to do whatever they're going to do. And I'm going to get this education, right? And then when I graduate, I'm going to have a piece of paper. And then what?
About 54% of people with them degrees right now looking for a job right now. But you feel better. Like the only reason I got a associates in business is because I dropped out in ninth grade, or the first month. I dropped out the first month of ninth grade. And what did society tell me? To make my mama proud, I need to go back to school and get me a degree and this. Like I have a business degree right now, right? And never made $1 off of it, because when I started running business, did nobody ask for your degree, because I'm the owner, you know.
Right, right, exactly.
But this is what I'm saying. These are the mind games. We're always trying to compete with each other in a society that got us all drowning. Like that's why I tell people, my competition, the people that when I see like local and people that's we all at the bottom trying to compete with each other, it's weird, because I'm like, you know, the people I study, like, you know, I was studying some private equity. These guys, the Ken Griffith guy, he make like $4 billion every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Every quarter, $4 billion with a B, not M. You think I'm worried about somebody across town? They got $100 to their name talking about me. That's my competition right there. That's and this is what I'm saying, like, for me to try to study him and me to try to rival him, I ain't got no time for emotions. I ain't got time for feelings. I got to step. I told you the other day what I say. The more I learn about this, the more I know. Where I realize I don't know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been studying for years, trying to get this thing together, and I'm still
at the same way. I'm the same way. I got into manufacturing, and I thought I knew some. Dude, I don't know nothing. I'm still learning. I'm still educating myself, but the good thing about it is I'm controlling everything. It's not like I got to go to anybody to do anything. Exactly.
And that's why we always say, before your money, before all that stuff comes, you got to have your mind right. Because once your mind get right, now you're on the right page. So we know we're on the right page because of how we think. We're not where we want to be, but we know we're on the right page because just of how we think and process and everything. You know, so this is what this show gonna be all about. Before we, I want to respect your time, and we got we started a little late, but we already at 8. I want to ask you about some local stuff that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want your take. I mean, I kind of know your take, but I wanted for the public to hear the big humble take. This Lamar Odom in your neck of the woods, right?
Yeah.
First of all, give me your opinion on it and the power or the non-power that you see that is or could be or isn't at all. Do you see any power in anything, or do you just think it's just a waste of time? Just give me your opinion on it overall, and then do you think it's any power behind it?
My opinion, first of all, is everybody has ulterior motives. And I believe that whole scenario, there's some ulterior motives.
Of course.
Now, I don't know what they are. Don't really care. But the way I see it is, if you are somebody with that type of prestige or celebrityship or whatever it is, you don't have to come here and ask the people anything. Point in blank, you should come here and say, in 1 year, the building is going to be up. It's already paid for. We've already got everything in place. We want parents to come. These are the programs that we have involved with it. You know, there will be some options for low income people. This is a private academy. That's the way I think it should have been done. The way it's being handled now, too many red flags. Too many for me. You know, I wouldn't stick my finger in that. Now, I'm not saying it's not good for the community, but why now? Why at this particular moment when nobody's thought about this place? You know what I'm saying? People who are in the community like myself and many others, not just me, you
just have somebody that just tried to open up a school and his own, and I spend my own money. I ain't come to that.
Exactly. Yeah. Same here. You know, right now, I'm doing some stuff behind the scenes with, you know, bringing people into merchandising. And I'm not asking nobody for one red nickel, not one nickel. Okay. Because if I believe in helping my people, I'm going to do that. That's just what I feel about the whole situation. You know, it's nothing I can control. But at the same time, it just don't seem right.
You see, this is, and I agree with you. That's why I love talking to you, because we so similar, and we a couple of decades apart, but we so similar in the way we think. Because I agree with everything you said. The only thing, and you know, what you say is out of our control. So if they build it or don't build it, or if it's a scam or whatever it is, like, because if it ain't Lamar Odom, it's somebody else anyway. It's somebody that we don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see big buildings and stuff in Temple. We didn't ask for it. It ain't benefiting us, but them people gonna do it anyway. So what would I be like posting all day on Facebook talking about how I hate what Temple's doing, and we didn't need this building, or we didn't need this new it has nothing to, I don't have no time to even worry about that, because it's out of our control, right?
That's correct.
So this goes back to the power. So, like, would I sit down and talk to Lamar Odom? Yeah.
I would too.
And I'll sit down and talk to him and wouldn't even need no money, because I understand currency.
Neither.
His celebrity is currency. So when people say he came here broke, if he get with the right people, we can use his name and raise some money, because it's fools in this world that won't donate to somebody like us, but to give to him just because he won a championship.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand strategically that he can be used. Yeah. What I use him,
and that's the motive. That's the motive behind what I think is going on. I think, like, he doesn't have any bad intentions. I believe he doesn't. I haven't talked to him, but just down the pipe, I will be talking to him. But at the same time, I don't think he has any bad intentions.
No, I don't think so either, because he's doing what most celebrities do. Everybody, any celebrity come to these towns, even if they got the money, they're going to raise money off their name, because they're correct. We don't realize the rich don't use their money. So when I see all these I ain't gonna say poor people, but people that people that haven't reached that level of money, rich people don't see. My dumb ass use my money. You know what I'm saying?
Me too. Me too.
Filthy rich people do. Why? I just talked about Ken Griffin that makes $4 billion every quarter. He still raises money, even though he's a billionaire. He's not using none of his money. So we have to understand what we're saying when we talk about stuff. Could it be looked at as funny style? Could you say, could you have an opinion that it ain't worth it? Yes. Should I go overboard and crash out and trip out and fuss and cry? No, I'm not going to do none of that.
Because we cannot call the kettle black. And I hope everybody listen to this.
Yeah,
understand what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
These people are in this community doing the exact same thing Lamar Odom is doing
every day.
Every small business owner in this community is using their name to try to get business, using their name in their profession to try to get the kids through the door so they can teach them about entrepreneurship or teach them about, whatever, curling hair or cutting grass. Yeah. So don't call the kettle black because this man has come here to do that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. My way of looking at it is, if it's going to do some good, it's going to do some good.
Yeah.
And if it ain't, it will dissolve itself.
Exactly. And that's how we should look at it. And that's, once again, this is power conversation. We're not talking about feelings. We're not talking about emotions. We're not talking about how we personally feel about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because no matter how you feel, you can't do nothing about it. So
exactly.
So when we talk about power, be like, hey, they doing their thing. But it's not gonna stop what me and Kemo talk about every time we sit down. You know what I'm saying? Now, could it help if we sit down and say, hey man, this one of the plays, we could use your name to really do this? I would do that. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't care about the community saying that I'm tripping or why use him, because that's the way the game is. We have to understand the game that we playing. You know what I'm saying? But
they're playing the game too, but they just don't know the rules. And you can't sit here and say, when you open your doors every day and you're trying to get customers in the community or people to come in and buy something from you or use your services, you can't fault them.
Yeah. And what a lot of people that post, what are they trying to do? They're trying to go viral. They're trying to build their name. They're trying to go viral so they can build their name. Why? Because they know if I go viral and I build my name, I get more exposure, so people would do this and do that. So a lot of people that's mad at Lamar Odom really just want to have a meeting with him. They're more mad that he won't sit with them than really what's going on, because a lot of people would change their perception if he sat with them and took a picture and said, will you be a part of this? A lot of them would change their mind. So that's what I'm saying. So don't ruin it before. If that's really your motive, like me, I don't care. Because I don't have a bad feeling towards it anyway. So I'm not, but
I don't either.
There's a lot of people that'll say something bad, but if he showed up, they would change their tone. You know what I'm saying? Just because they want to be a part of it. Because
I mean, I hope he does. I hope he does. If he's on the level of business that I think he is.
I know he opened up a nursing home or something, and then he was just in Vegas doing the same thing. He's trying to open up a school in Vegas. So it's a few cities that he's trying to do this in. It's not just Killeen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
But strategically, right? Like if he was in Temple, right? And I'm like one of the biggest entrepreneurs in Temple, I would love it because strategically I can use it. I can use his name. I can use it, this and that to try to slide. You know what I'm saying? Slide what I'm doing. Like we got to be strategic instead of always mad about everybody.
I agree.
Because big business, we're not gonna get along. We're not gonna see eye to eye all the time. But if we can sit down at the table and benefit off each other, we would do that. Billionaires do that every day. They're not best friends. They don't like each other. But they would do business if it benefits both sides. We can do it. And that's how we got to think. And that's what I wanted. That's why I was like, we got to start these conversations because we got to get our people to think on another level that, okay, even if you hate him personally, how can you win with him? The same thing when it comes to the politics, right? You might hate Trump personally. How can we win though? See, we got to get to that point instead of saying,
we do.
I hate him. Okay, so what you gonna do for the next 4 years? Just kill yourself? You just gonna just go
right?
You still got to be productive and do something. You know
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the part I want us to feel like, okay, I don't like him. Maybe it's shady. I don't know, but let me see. Or even if it is shady and he don't open his school, maybe if I can get in his ear, I can show him how he'll benefit and I'll benefit if we do this. You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta be some kind of strategic. And if it can't work, okay, cool. Because at the end of the day, if we sit down with him and it didn't work out, what is gonna change what we doing? It ain't gonna change nothing. So we wouldn't be upset or mad or want to fight him. So we can sit down and have a meeting and never talk again, or we can sit down and have a meeting and do some good business. Either way, what we're talking about change.
You're gonna build what you build regardless of what anybody says or what anybody does. Nobody can stop me. Nobody can stop me from building. The only thing that can stop me from building is death. That's it. Man, I ain't building nothing. But as long as I wake up and I'm alive, I can build. That's in our ancestry. We can build. But, as decades gone by and we're in the 21st century, it's just there's been so much deprogramming of the way we think. And you're right. It starts with the mindset. You know what I'm saying? That's where it starts.
This is why I try to I got a couple of people that I'm teaching now, like, okay, whatever your first reaction is, I respect it. Okay, give yourself a chance to think about it a different way. You see what I'm saying? Like, okay, I hate him. It's a scam, this and that, which all could be true, right?
Right.
But give yourself a chance to be like, you know what? How can I win with him? How could Killeen be better off?
Right.
Like, just give yourself a chance. Even if you get away from it after you think about it, at least let it come into your brain that a different thought. And that's what we don't do. We all run with whatever comes to our emotions in our brain the first, and we just don't think we don't turn around. So that's and that's part of what I was like, man, you know what, me and Kemo, I've been talking about this powerful conversation for over a year. It's time to really have powerful conversations. And every week we're gonna have different topics and stuff, and we're gonna bring different stuff to the table. This week is just like our introductory, you know what I'm saying? Just a conversation that we have, just regular conversations. These are regular conversations to us. You know?
Yeah, right.
Like, we don't talk no other way.
But, exactly.
This was the first episode, man. I want to tell, like, before you get out of here, right? Let me.
What'd you do?
I'm right here.
Oh.
Okay. Let people know. Man, I see. I'm loving that shirt, man. So give me the website so I can put it at the bottom. Is what's the website?
Yes. It's www.k7jauthentic.com. Now be reminded, for everybody who's watching this, that company is not a clothing brand. Okay.
Give him a little background on it, for, you know what I'm saying?
Right. We're merchandising, manufacturing, agency and network that builds manufacturing and distribution for, people wanting to be in that industry. Mm-hmm. So that's what we do. Yes, we do have clothes on there, but the clothes that you see, like this shirt, is not on there, but this is how we entertain our clients. Right now, we're building worldwide, global merchandising agents. We're licensing them to inject themselves into this industry. So you'll see the videos on my Facebook or whatever, in my Instagram. All you have to do is just go to that website that he just put up there, k7jauthentic.com, and just join the network team. Go in there. Doesn't cost you anything to apply, but I'm going to let you know it's not a freebie. To get the license, you're going to have to put in some effort. Yeah. Period. Yeah, we're not because we're looking for people who are enthusiastic and creative and who really want to go into this industry. And the perks of it is, you're going to make some money. Yeah. But that's not the only perks of it. This is more about industry building than anything. Okay. What we can build that we can control. It's that simple. So.
And that's what we talk about, power. What he's talking about is power. Because most of us, you'll see that, be like, oh, he got a clothing line. Nah, you're missing the whole point. You're missing the whole point. And we're going to dab into that. Even maybe next week, we'll get into like industries. What is industries? Maybe that's the topic for next week. I'm going to put it out there. What is industries? Because
I'm big on that.
Yeah, I already know. So that's a big power play. So all you're going to hear about is power. You're going to hear about mindset and the moves that we can make to really put ourselves in position. And we're gonna bring some people in. I know we're gonna talk about trust, because I'm getting into all that now with everything I got going on. I gotta get this trust game right. Gotta get the corporation set up, the umbrella. Mm-hmm. So like these shows, especially like the next week, I'm gonna be rolling out a few new shows on the Wealth Is Gangsta Network. And what I'm doing is, because I don't want to ever pretend like I'm just some kind of guru, right? I'm a person that even in these powerful conversations that we're talking about, I'm learning, and it's making me be more accountable for what I got to do. Because you know what I'm saying? Like, we already know the type of moves we making, but for us to come on this show every week, we got to show and tell. Remember, I told you that last time. It's a lot of people that talk like they the big dogs, but when you look at them, they not really no big dogs. Yeah, I see some real big dogs out here, and we don't got too many around here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so, I know some too.
You know what I'm saying? So this is going to be a show about power. It's going to be a show about mindset. This is going to be a show about how we take it to the next level. And whatever level you think is the next level, is higher levels than that. Take it from me. I really believe I think huge and I think small. When I really study well.
Yeah, you and me both. I got my book. I ain't gonna bring it up this time, but on our next show.
Yeah, well, let's make sure I got it so I can put all that stuff up.
Yeah, I got this book that I'm reading, and it's all about wealth acquisition. And a lot of people don't know about that. And, in my background, I used to be a stockbroker, and I used to sell securities and mutual funds and all that other stuff, so I'm well versed in that area. But this is, like you said, this is a whole nother level. Yeah. A whole nother level. It's a whole nother level I didn't even know about.
Hey, man, I'm going to be doing some more studying tonight, because I'm just so excited about it. I'm like, man, hold on. I've been doing this wrong. But that's a great thing, though, to really be a person that have done what I've done, accomplished what I've accomplished. Yeah. I could be sitting around like, ain't nobody in Temple ever did nothing I did, and feel like I'm just a top dog. And no, I'm a little ant dog. I'm little bitty. And that what keeps me hungry. That what keeps me learning. Yeah. That what keeps me knowing it's much more to go after. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm excited about, man.
And I'm never going to tell anybody that, they should put their money somewhere, they should do certain things. No, I don't believe in that. But I do believe that if you do want to do something and you want to do it with me, I'm always open-eared to it. I don't care what it is. I'm not that type of person who's going to be like, I ain't going to listen to you because you starting down here with an idea. No, you got an idea? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, because you never know. That might be the one.
Because you never know.
You never know. You know what I'm saying? So
if we could do more of that, things would change. But a lot of times people hold those things back and they don't want to make the approaches. And I'm telling you, while I'm still here,
yeah,
I'll entertain it.
let's do it. Let's make some. Let's make some shake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what we're gonna be doing, man. So I appreciate you. You know, really just. I mean, you down with everything. Every time I call you, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like shocking, but I just publicly want to say I appreciate you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You already know personally I appreciate you. I say it publicly.
Yeah.
We just got so much to do the last couple years. It's kind of been like, it's definitely not no fill out because we've been locked in, but you've been sitting back, observing, giving me little pointers here and there, seeing where I'm messing up at.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you be like, yeah, I'm watching you, but I see you messing that up, but I'm letting you do your thing because I know you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that because it's kind of like when a parent, right? A parent want to save their kid from all the mistakes, but you got to let them bump their head so they really learn and know the game. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought I knew a lot, and I'm not. It's not that I don't know nothing at all, but for the level I want to go to, yeah, I got a lot of learning to do. You know
what they say, FAFO, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate everything you poured into me. And I'm just looking forward to us, you know, just really, man, just taking off. And this is kind of like a documentary of I was telling the guy, I said, man, when y'all see my posts on Facebook, y'all just see me posting. That's really that's a documentary of you watching me become a multi-millionaire. That's really what you watch. If you watch me post over the last 2-3 years, in the next year or two, you really just watch me become
just watching the steps.
That's all you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Watching the steps.
You watching the steps, man. So I really I want to take them on a journey. I want to keep this continuous. I definitely want to because I haven't did a podcast in probably like 8 months. It's probably almost a year.
No, it's been longer than that. It's been probably about a year or so.
And we're gonna have an episode when I go into that the last year. You know all about it, but I'm gonna have to break it down because a lot of people don't know. Like, man, the six figures, the multi six figures that I spent money. They don't know about the sleepless nights trying to hold on to the school, not getting support from the community. I mean, you've been right there, you've been watching. You know what I'm saying? But we'll get into that another show. You know, we gonna
and I've been in that situation just like you. Don't think that. You know, I don't want people to think that like I'm so super successful. I'm successful, but I lost a lot of money, and we're gonna talk about it. Because you know, I tell you all the time, 6 figures plus.
It's part of it, though. You know, it's part of it when you don't have it. I felt like I had to do it to pay for my lessons because I didn't really have it. Like, before I met you, I didn't have nobody that I not nobody, like I have people I can listen to on like social media or something or YouTube or something, but somebody I can really sit down and really talk on that level. I never had that, you know. So like, we only been doing this for a couple of years, you know. That's a long time, but it's really not a long time at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Not in wealth building, it takes years for people to get to that level that we're talking about. So
and you can thank Nick Stewart for that because that man put me on that level. You know, he never turned us away. You know, he was like the Godfather. We would sit down and we go to him for the wisdom, and he'd be like, no, I wouldn't recommend that. Blah blah blah. Oh, you need help with that? Okay, I got you. So I'm just paying it forward, man.
And pouring it back in, and then that's what I do. When I'm with the youngsters all day. What I do, I turn around and pour it back into them, trying to get them because I want to get it to them younger. And that's what I always say. Like, man, I started getting a lot of this game after 30, mid 30s. Like, what if I'd have got this in my 15, 20, 25? Like, I'd have been, to like 10, 15, 20 years ahead. So that's what we're doing now. We just paving it back to really make that change, man.
And I tell people, to love me is to know me.
Yeah. Of course, And there's some people that ain't gonna love us, but we don't care. I know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's the only way. You got to know me.
Even the people that's like it's a lot of people that love me but upset with me. But they have to realize when you come in from a powerful conversation, it's gonna be a lot of things that you don't like because a lot of people get into their feelings and that's not right. Power don't care about all that. Power is power, and it's definitely not like, okay, we want to be like the people that's running this or running that and just be devilish with power. We're not even saying that at all. It's just saying that I understand how power works, and I'm definitely always turning to the best of my side. But when I'm in the room with these wolves, We can't be in there like sheep nice trying to be friends with everybody. We're gonna get ate up. And that's what a lot of our people, we're gonna talk about that too in the episode. A lot of our people get ate up because we want to be on the moral side. And that's great. It's great to be on the moral side. But when you at the table with sharks, that's why people at the bottom.
We get ate up.
We morally tasting good in their mouth.
Yeah. Gonna get ate up.
You know what I'm saying? They picking their teeth with all that moral stuff. So we got to understand that, you don't never want to get out your character and be a bad person, but you got to understand when you're at the table with certain people, you got to operate a certain way. And that's just
you do.
And if you don't, you're not going to be powerful. You're going to always be taken advantage of and eaten up. And that's just what it is. And if that's what you want to do.
It's a silent factor too. You would think that they would say something or be outspoken about it, but they're not. I done sat at a lot of tables and they don't say nothing. But the next thing you know, you blackballed and you be like, wait a minute.
They give each other that nod, that look. You know what I'm saying? They don't got to say nothing. They already know. They
already know. Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. So that's what we're going to be the example for. That's what we're going to lead the crusade, especially in this area. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna be doing this, man. So let me wrap it up. I appreciate everybody coming in for the Wealth Is Gangsta podcast. Well, you know what? Let me stop saying that. The Wealth Is Gangsta Network. We're actually building this to be a network. We can say that this is a podcast, but you're gonna actually start seeing some reality shows and different little shows. I'm about to film a first movie. My cousin just dropped off 3 books that he wrote, so we're gonna be publishing it. And I talked about what we're gonna be doing. We ain't gonna talk about that right now, but what we're doing, like movie rights and TV. So we're gonna get into a lot of stuff. And once again, it goes to industry. So next week, tune in at Tuesday at 7. We're gonna be talking about industry. What is industry? And I'm gonna be learning, because I can talk about some I know of, but this is gonna be the man that's gonna be doing the teaching next week about industry.
Oh yeah, I can tell a lot about that. So haven't done it.
Yeah. So go to K7jauthentic.com. Check it out. Tune in. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and all that. And just stay locked in with us as we build, man. I appreciate y'all. This is another episode of Wealth Is Gangsta, and we see y'all next week at 7 p.m. Central Time.
You too, bro. Peace. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
I see you this week for our meeting.
All right. No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I see you next. I see you next week.
Next week. Okay.
All right, big dog. I'll talk to you soon.
Later.
All right.
Okay.
Peace.